fundamental element of the U.S. system of representative democracy. Now, a question for you, ladies and gentlemen, is, well, two questions for you is, what do you think voting is, and why do you think Black men do not vote as they should? Raise your hand if you would like to answer one of these two questions. I'm trying to have a discussion.
I think voting is a personal choice for each one of us, but specifically African American people, because we need votes, or we need the ability to vote to make change within our communities. And I'm just making that as simple as possible. We need to vote in order to make changes specific to our needs within our communities.
Okay. Yes.
I think one of the problems we have, especially these young people getting them to vote, I don't think we have done a very good job of telling them the struggle. Everything comes so easy now for our young folks. It's our fault that it comes so easy, but I don't think we did a very good job of passing down the struggle to instill in them voting.
Oh, my fault.
I feel that voting is my right, and voting is each person's right. When you get a birth certificate after you're born, someone voted so you could get that birth certificate. Driver's license, they did the same. And legislations are passed, laws to make sure our society function properly so that each person would be have equal rights and equal protection under the law.
The question I'd like to answer is the one that relates to why we believe that Black men don't vote. Right. And I believe that a lot of that some of it can be attributed to the fact that Black men are most often might have encounters with the law, will lose their right to vote. Some never really understand that there is a way to actually have those rights restored, so that they really go through life thinking that there is no opportunity. The other is that we find that the Black men are probably the first ones to say that even if I voted, it's not going to make a difference in terms of my life. So one of the things that we really do try to work very hard to do is to change that impression and have everyone understand that every vote matters, and especially for African American men.
Kelsey.
Sir.
I would say one of the other key problems is the lack of education. On outreach yesterday, we just talked to a teenager, and I asked her, did she know who the mayor was here in Mobile, and she did not know. I asked her, do you know what the mayor does? She says, no ma'am, I don't. When I grew up, we had civics in school, and we were taught how each body operates. If people understood that the mayor hires your chief of police, they might vote. If people understood that your district attorney is gonna decide if your child is prosecuted or not, they might make a decision and want to have something to say about who that individual is. So I think it's oftentimes what I do out in the public is talk about what's in it for me to vote. And I think that's one of the pieces that are missing.
That's one of mine. All right. All right. One more. Yes.
Hi. I want to address both the last lady's comment, and I'd like to mention that voting is not only a right, but it's a responsibility. And if you don't vote, then someone else votes. Their voice is heard and you're silenced. So you need to look at voting as not only a right and a privilege, but you need to look at it as a responsibility, all of us as voters. The League of Women Voters is currently in discussions with Mobile County Public School System to develop a program on Civics 101 to the 7th grade. And we're hoping to launch that by the fall semester of 2023. In 2024, our goal is to have a program in the 12th grade. And this will be incredibly important because that is the presidential election year. And during that program, we'll be registering voters. So this is throughout the Mobile County school systems. We're working with Mr. Nate Smith. So I just wanted you to know help is on the way.
Okay. moving on, but before we move on to the next one, the ones I would like to point out about education, those really spoke to me because it reminds me of when, well, in this debate class, I'm doing a project of problems in Alabama, like real issues that need to be solved. And one of the problem I'm focusing on is redistricting. And I was taking a poll in one of my classes, and I had to explain to them what redistricting is and how it's affecting our country. So it surprised me that they don't know what's going on, and like they're not paying attention to how voting is affecting our country. So education really spoke to me there. Okay, the next question is why voting is significant. Now, voting is significant because you're making a strong contribution to the welfare of your society. Whether that vote is to keep or change something, you're still providing something that is impactful to your community. Voting could be about something that is minute, like installing a road sign, or it could be about something crucial, like I mentioned earlier, redistricting. You can also choose the option to be passive and not to vote. However, I would not advise this because your tax dollars could go to something or fund something that does not support your core beliefs. And another question for you, the audience, is why do you think voting is significant to you? Yes.
I hate to keep getting up, but voting is significant to me because the road I drive on, they need to be good roads. Last month I paid $100 and some to have my car rebalanced because it was out of line. Also, it's significant because the health care that I get for preventive health care, legislation are normally passed so that, insurance companies can't just charge you so much money to make sure that you remain healthy. And there are a number of things, the grocery bills, your gas taxes, everything that we have in society, it comes through voting. And you can vote to make sure that the big corporations don't just balloon out of, balloon taxes out of command or out of source.
Yes.
The young man behind me spoke about, people not really having an understanding of it. And from me, from a historical perspective, when I think of what the people before me went through to get the right to vote, there's no way. I've seen the movies and I've read the book, and it's just heart-wrenching. I can't think of any else
my last question is, like the lady mentioned over there, is what can voting do for you? Voting can open a world of opportunities for you as an individual. Voting can also gain your community recognition or a sort of representation. Voting allows you to be heard. Voting can give you more rights, reforms, and a variety of relief. Voting can give your schools education. It can make your neighborhoods feel safer. It can also give you representators and electorates. And finally, the main question is, why do or do not black men vote? Some black men are complacent. Some are held back by society and the systematic injustices. Some are afraid of the barriers and walls put in place to stop them from exercising their right as humans. They marched, they spoke out, they were beaten, shot, and even murdered. Some black men think it's a waste. Some think their voice doesn't matter. But if their voices didn't matter, then why even today are they being belittled, ostracized, and challenged? All of these are reasons black men do not vote, but these are also reasons for black men to vote. Thank you.